Hi, I recently made all the videos about the Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time trilogy. Now that they're all done, I had the idea to put them all into one video, into one big video. I hope you'll appreciate it. It still will feel like separate videos, but just all pushed together, and I hope you'll like it. And yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you want to see more of, and follow me on Instagram if you want to keep up to date with whatever I'm doing. So, hopefully you enjoy. Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video in this channel. I just wanted to talk about this game in particular, which is Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time. I want to touch up on other Prince of Persia games and many more other games, but this one was a game that spoke to me. Like, hey, pick me as a first video to do the thing that I really wanted to do, especially since I want to talk about all the Prince of Persia games, and I'm planning to do so. But let's get right into Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time. I played this game a few years back, but that was not my first experience with Prince of Persia. My first experience with the franchise was with Prince of Persia Warrior Within, and a year after that I got in touch with The Two Thrones, which is the sequel to that, and the final game in the Sands of Time trilogy. I played both of those games back on the PlayStation 2, and I never actually got to play the Sands of Time when I was a kid, but only got to it a few years ago when I got it on PC through Ubisoft and played it on there. So my first experience with the game was a good one. I loved it, and I saw how it evolved into the games that I played as a kid and that I loved as a kid. But right now we're not here to talk about Warrior Within and The Two Thrones, but we're here for the Sands of Time in its own. And that's how we're going to do it. I loved this game when I first played it. There were a few things that I didn't quite enjoy, but I'll get into that in this video. It's still pretty fresh in my mind. Since I played it only a few days ago, I recorded my whole playthrough so I can have it as background footage. But hey, let's get right into the story. It's a short one, and there are not that much plot points in this game, but they are good in my opinion. They're simple but effective tools to put you on your story, and how it's told is pretty good. So you start off as the prince, together with the Persian war fleet, going to invade a castle of the Maharaja. And in the meantime, the prince is going through the vault and finds the Dagger of Time. This is a special dagger that uses the Sands of Time, so it can control time. In fact, with that dagger, the prince can turn back in time a bit. So when something bad happens, he can turn back time a bit. So he's on top of it. But yeah, that's a nice tool. But this is only the beginning. After a while, he goes out of the vault and gets back together with his father, the King of Persia. And he shows him the Dagger of Time that he found, and he gets to keep it. But there was the vizier wanting to have that dagger as a trophy, because he was promised to get one of the treasures. So he wanted the dagger, but he was declined by the King of Persia, so he set his eyes on the Hourglass of Time, which he also got declined, because the king wanted to give the Hourglass as a gift to another nation. And so it goes. In giving the gift, the vizier tells the prince something about the Hourglass and the function of the Dagger of Time with it. So the prince takes him up on his offer and pushes the dagger into the hourglass and sets free the sands of time, but in that event the sands of time break free and turn everyone but the prince, one girl named Farah, and the vizier into sand monsters. After this, the prince has to find a way to make up for what he did and to catch or to turn back time so the sands of time were never released. This is the setting of this game and I quite enjoy it. It feels unreal that what's happening, and all of this gets told as if he's telling the story to someone else. And that's one part that I really liked about this game. It is like he's telling it as a story to someone else, and he's like, yeah, I know you won't believe this, but this happened to me. And in the meantime, you are playing through that story. And I like that effect very, very much. Now you're asking, how was my experience playing this game again for this video? Well, overall it was pretty good, but there were some problems I had during this playthrough. I had a lot of camera issues, mainly during combat. During platforming sections I didn't have any problems with the camera, but during combat it was like in weird spaces, didn't control as well as I'd liked. But that was like only in the beginning of the game. During the game, somehow they got away. I don't know if I did anything else, did something wrong. I don't know. It's like fixed itself during the game. Other than that, there were a lot of like glitches where the prince like got thrown into the air during platforming. I like jumped somewhere and the prince went up in the air, and sometimes it made me die and made me get a game over. But those were like the biggest actually gameplay things that I had. There were some other issues. I, especially in the beginning of the game, had a lot of like speed ups and slowdowns with the game, but I fixed that by turning on VSync in the game. That made another problem I had. During the game, the whole time, during cutscenes, the audio was out of sync. I tried to resolve this during gameplay, but I never like fixed it for the Sands of Time. I think I know how to fix it for Warrior Within, but I'm not sure, so I'll see it when I'm playing that game for another video. But it was, for me, it was pretty important, and I hated it that, yeah, it was out of sync, but I got over it. Let's go over to the things I really loved about this game in particular. Some of these also are in the sequels, but there are also a few things that are only in this game for as far as I remember, at least. But yeah, I love the story. It's simple, but it does the job so well, in my opinion. Other than that, like how the game just feels. I love the feel of movement, especially during platforming, but also during combat. It feels amazing to jump over someone and down him in one swell move. Just take him, throw him away. I love that part of the game. I love both the platforming and the combat of this game, but there were a few powers that I never used during this playthrough that I know are in the game, but I just, like, for some reason couldn't figure them out, and I was too prideful to look them up, I guess. But yeah, I loved the abilities that I used. I did love. Other than the combat and the movement, there are a few things I really loved about this game, and they're small things in my opinion, but like when you go to the pillars of light where you could save, whenever you went into those for the first time, a vision like popped up and you saw bits and pieces of like the areas that you were going to go in like sometimes you saw bits of story elements, like bits and pieces, nothing much, but it was a nice touch and I loved it, and I hope they would have continued that during the next games, but yeah, they didn't. But they were amazing, and I was looking at them with a smile during my whole playthrough. Other than that, I just love the scenery. From the caves to the castle to the baths to the bird cage where you have to go in during part of the story. I loved it all. And other than that, like subtle details, I loved it so much. They were like all looking like they belonged, but were so varied, and yeah, I love the scenery in this game, especially also the next one. But I loved it so much. Other than that, a smaller detail is that during the game, the prince pulls off parts of his outfit, of his top, and it starts with one arm, then the other, and then like revealing his whole torso, and you see like the scars on his body. I like that. I loved how it is. It didn't feel weird. It just felt like, hey, this is cool. Yeah, it's something little, but I liked it. When I was playing it, it never felt over the top. But these were the things I absolutely loved in this game. There were a few things I didn't quite as enjoy. One of these is a thing that, in my first playthrough, it disturbed me. I had less issues with it this playthrough, but it still was there, and yeah, I'm not a big fan of this aspect, but during combat, you have to use the dagger to like kill and finish off most enemies. There are a few exceptions, but like most enemies, you have to finish off with the dagger. This also made sure that if there were a lot of enemies, you could get hit while finishing off an enemy, and so the enemy revived if you took too long. I did not like this, but it's part of the game. I got over it during this playthrough, but it's still something that I really didn't enjoy. And I do hope they remove that aspect from the game for the remake that's coming out in 2026, hopefully. But I'm not sure. This was something I did not like. Other than that, there were two enemy types that I absolutely disliked during this playthrough. One was the freaking bats. I hate these bats with a passion. They didn't really give me game over screens or anything, but I just couldn't get over them. They were so annoying. I couldn't get rid of them. I just hated them, and I'm so glad that they're not in the next few games. But these can go to hell for all I care. Other than that is an enemy type that I didn't have any problems with on my first playthrough, but now I think they were glitched. Not really sure, but I think so, and that these are the bird enemies. The problem I had with those was whenever I hit them, they like went straight up in the air, so I couldn't hit them another time. So especially in the early game, I couldn't finish them off easily, and it took just way too long, and I grew some kind of resentment towards those birds. But yeah, those are the only three things I didn't really like about this game. There are a few things I only noticed during this playthrough. The fact that Farah, the girl with the bow that accompanies you throughout most of the game, I didn't know she could hit you. Like, it's stated in dialogue from, hey, whoa, watch out, you're gonna hit me. But I never noticed she could actually hit the prince. But it happened a few times during my playthrough now. And it was like, not something I liked or disliked. It was just like, whoa, I did not notice this. But the opposite is also true. She can hit you, but if you're not careful, you can also hit her. And I found that out the hard way. Luckily she didn't die, and I didn't have to start over that part. But yeah, I hit her a few times, and I did not notice until she was like one shot, and then yeah, the other thing came by that I only noticed this time, and that was like she can regenerate her health if she doesn't get hit for a while. I don't know the exact timing, but that was something I really didn't know before playing this playthrough, and it was a nice touch. I like to see that. But yeah, that was all for Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. What am I going to do for next video? I'm thinking of making next video about Prince of Persia: Warrior Within, also known as my favorite game in the franchise. It's the game that I played most back on PlayStation 2, but also on PC. But I want to make a video about all Prince of Persia games, like the ones from after the Sands of Time. So next one will probably be about Prince of Persia: Warrior Within, and after that probably the Two Thrones. But after that I want to make videos about the other Prince of Persia games, but also about other games like the Assassin's Creed games, or about God of War, or anything else. So if you want to see me talk about a certain game, please let me know down here in the comments below. If you want to know whenever the next video will come up, I'll post that on my Instagram. I'll try and keep you guys updated as most as possible through my Instagram, so drop me a follow there. But also, I'm intending to like begin streaming in the near future. I'm like in the process of setting things up on my Twitch channel, but you'll be able to find that link down in the description below, and feel free to follow me on there as well, so you get notified whenever I go live on Twitch. But also like stay in touch on my Instagram. I'll always post on there whenever I'm doing something new. I'll post a story whenever I start streaming, every stream probably. But also like the first time I start streaming, I'll make a post on there as like an announcement on when the first stream is going to happen. So I'll see you there soon. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this video very much. If you did, feel free to leave a like and let me know how you liked it down here in the comments. Also, yeah, as I said before, let me know what you want to see more of on this channel, and share this video with your friends, I guess. Hope you liked it, and I hope you have a great day, or night, or whenever you watch this. I hope you have a great time. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Bye. We're going to talk about Prince of Persia: Warrior Within. But before we do that, I'd love to ask you to subscribe to this channel. It's free, and if you don't like the content I make anymore, you can always take it away. Other than that, it would be amazing if you would leave a like on this video. If you don't like the video, you can always take it away. And please let me know in the comments below why you liked or didn't like the video. Let me know so I can improve the content I make. Other than that, I have a new channel I made here on YouTube, where I post my gameplay of the games I played. So at the moment there's only one video on there, and that's my whole gameplay of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. There is no commentary on that, it's just the gameplay as it is, no cuts, no edits. So if you wanna see how I play the game, you can most likely find it on there. The channel's name is Full Games by Brandosi. This will be linked down in the description below, so check it out if you want to. But let's get right into the video. So my journey with this game started off when I was a kid. I was at my cousin's home. He had this game on the PlayStation 2 and he was playing it. And I looked at it and I loved the vibes. It was like dark and emo a bit, and it looked really, really fun. So eventually every time I came over, we started playing that game, but never got really far into the game, mostly in the earlier areas. And after a while, he gave it to me as a present, and I'm still thankful for that, because he gave me one of my favorite games for my whole life, actually. This one is still pretty high up there for me. And I just replayed it constantly back on the PlayStation 2. I eventually got it on PC back in 2016-17. Yeah, I replayed it then once or twice, and then never played it again till the playthrough I did for this video. But my experience with the game has always been amazing. I've loved this game to death, and I was so happy when I started playing it again, because all the memories of the game itself just flooded back into me, and it was amazing. I loved this playthrough, I can tell you that already. But let's get right into my playthrough this time around. Before we get into how I played this game this time around, I just want to talk about the story of this game, because this is, from what I remember, my favorite Prince of Persia story that has been told. And I want to get over the story a bit before we head into the rest of the game. So let's get right into it. It all starts when the prince is being chased by a creature is called the Dahaka. He goes to like someone else, an older person, to ask what the hell is going on, and that person gives an explanation that monster that is following him is called the Dahaka, and he is still chasing him because the prince opened the Sands of Time in the last game. Even though he went back in time to like make sure that didn't happen, it's still written in the timeline that the prince should die for freeing the sands. He also tells him of an island, the Island of Time, where the Sands of Time were created back in the day, and a rumor that there are some like portals on the island on which he can use to go back in time before the Sands of Time were created. So after hearing that, the prince decides to go to that island, the Island of Time, to stop, or at least try and stop, the creation of the Sands of Time. On his way there, he goes with a ship and he gets ambushed by another ship, by a woman who is trying to kill him to make sure he doesn't arrive at the island. But the prince gets shipwrecked and eventually like comes to shore on the Island of Time. He follows the woman there, he finds her and follows her to a strange room with some like kind of sands rising up in the air. He goes in that after the woman, and he sees the whole room where he was changes. It looks like he went back in time, just like the rumor that he heard from the old man said. He then follows her to another room where she is arguing and trying to kill another woman. The prince helps the other woman by killing the woman that tried to kill him. Holy fuck, that's weird to say. It turns out that woman that was being assaulted kind of was Kylina. The prince rescues her and tries and asks her about the Empress who will create the Sands of Time, and she tells the prince to just go away and to never come back. The prince doesn't heed her warning and says, I still need to have an audience with the Empress to make my case. So he tries to get to where the Empress is. He eventually comes to a room with an hourglass where the time till when the Sands of Time are going to be created is trickling down. And there, the room where the Sands of Time will be created is blocked off. Kylina tells the prince that that he has to activate 2 towers on the island to be able to enter the room. So he goes off there. On his way, he sees a weird creature that seems to like be following him. He doesn't know what it is yet, but we'll get into that in a minute because it's kind of important. On his way in the present, he switches out from the past back to the present, and he sees that in the present the Dahaka still follows him on the island, trying to kill him to preserve the timeline. So he tries to run, and it works most of the time. Eventually, he's back in the past. After activating the 2 towers, he tries to go to the room where the Sands of Time will be created, and he comes across the Dahaka in the past, which was weird because the Dahaka only came in the present timeline, or in the present time, but the Dahaka came in the past, and eventually also that weird monster that was following the prince came there as well. The prince dodged the attack of the Dahaka, and so that monster that was following him got killed by the Dahaka, and the Dahaka leaves. So the prince goes on to where the Sands of Time will be created and comes in the throne room of the Empress and finds out that Kylina is the Empress. There they start fighting, arguing, and the prince is like, hey, I don't want to kill you, but I don't want the Sands of Time to be created, otherwise I will die, and I need to change my fate. And so the Empress reacts that her fate is to die by the prince's hands, and she wants to change that fate as well. They start fighting, and the prince, sadly enough, kills Kylina, and eventually finds a time portal behind the throne. So he goes back to the present thinking, hey, I did it. Sands of Time were never created. I'm going back home. He is just sitting a bit and finds out that the Dahaka is still after him. He swallows in despair and just is afraid that his only chance was over. He gets thrown into the prison segment where the Dahaka is trying to get him even there. And once he's there, he finds all kinds of texts on murals about a mask that can give the wearer a second chance to try and change his or her fate. He tries to get to... because of that, he gets new inspiration and tries to get to that mask to be able to get a new chance to change his fate, to make sure that Sands of Time were never created. And so he goes on. He eventually finds the mask and puts it on. The mask clings on to his face, and his whole body starts to change. Because of that, it turns out the prince, was that strange creature that was following the prince all along. The other side effect was that the prince, or now called the Sand Wraith, is put back in time before the prince of the original timeline is even on the island. He is coming to the island still, so he has a lot of time and finds out that this is his chance to make sure the Sands of Time will not be created. So he tries to get back to the throne room, and on his way there, he comes across the places where the prince had seen the Sand Wraith before, but now he's on the other side. At least he saves himself and goes on to the throne room, but eventually gets punched by some golem and passes out and losing a lot of time. He goes back. Eventually, after waking up, he sees the prince has activated the 2 towers already, and so he runs as fast as he can to the throne room, where he comes across the prince and the Dahaka. But this time, he will make sure that he, as the Sandwraith, will not be killed. He dodges the prince's move and dodges the Dahaka by that, so the Dahaka kills the prince and the mask comes loose. The Sandwraith is no more. The prince gets his own body back and presses on to the throne room. There he sees Kaelina and does like he did in the original try, or his original tactic. He doesn't change how he acts. He doesn't look like, well, from Kaelina's perspective, he doesn't look like anything's wrong. And they go in the throne room, but he just goes on to where the time portal is, and he cuts it open and says to Kaelina, there is another way. And Kaelina doesn't believe him, and she wants to fight him, and eventually they come on their final battle space. This is where there are two other so there are 2 endings in this game. You have on one side the original ending, and on the other the secret ending. First I'm gonna talk about the original ending, but this one is not canon. This one is just if you played the game normally and didn't do anything, just play through the game normal. In this ending, the prince kills Kaelina in the present, and the Dahaka shows up. The prince is like, what the fuck are you doing here? I killed Kaelina in the present, so the sands of time were never created in the first place. And the Dahaka just claims Kaelina's body, but also goes to the prince and takes his medallion. Because of this, the sands of time aren't a thing anymore, and aren't a thing in this world. After this, the prince heads back home with his ship, and sees that Babylon is under attack. And that's where it ends. It's a small setup, but not in the way that the secret ending does. The secret ending, however, is the canon ending. You can have this by one measure, and that's by obtaining all the health upgrades in this game. There are 9 health upgrades. They are not that hard to find if you know where they are. In my playthrough now, well, I'll get to that in a bit. But the secret ending takes place at the same time as the original ending, but instead of the prince killing Kaelina, the Dahaka shows up and tries to kill Kaelina himself. The prince tries to stop that and finds out the sword he got when he got all the health upgrades, the water sword, is able to harm the Dahaka. So the prince tries to kill the Dahaka and eventually ends up killing it. So the prince kills the Dahaka and talks to Kaelina that there is no threat to her anymore about the prince killing him. He asks her again if she wants to come to Babylon with him, because there's nothing on the island anymore that's for her. The Kaelina agrees, and they decide to go to Babylon together. But while they are on the boat and like making love, yeah, that's a thing, that's canon. While making love, we get a vision that something is wrong in Babylon. Babylon is under attack, and there's a strange voice that says that it will all be his. This part is a teaser to what's to come in the next game, Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about my experience with Prince of Persia: Warrior Within. So let's get right into it and yeah, see what I encountered in my playthrough this time around. There were some issues that I had during this playthrough. First of all, the game just, when you download it on Steam, it just goes to the aspect ratio of 4:3, so a square resolution and square screen. I fixed this by using the widescreen patcher, the same that I did for Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. It's easy to find, so I won't really get into it. But other than that, there were a few issues. One that was pretty big for me, that actually stopped me from recording a pretty long while. I stopped recording for like a week because of that, because I just couldn't solve the issue. The issue that I had was in the gardens, that one point where you have to climb up something, I just couldn't climb up. It was something that I didn't know how to fix, so I looked it up and found nothing related to it for a while, and I stopped recording because I was just mad that I can progress in this game. Eventually, after like almost a week had passed of no recording, I was thinking of, I'm going to try and get on with it and just hopefully get across it. If I couldn't, I would just use clips of my old playthrough I did here on YouTube, or clips from other people for the video, but I didn't really want to do that. And eventually I came across an article on the Steam community forum about Prince of Persia: Warrior Within with the exact same issue that I had. I looked it up and everything I tried didn't have effect. What was a fix was just turning my monitor's refresh rate back to 60 Hz. Normally my refresh rate is 180 Hz. I'll put a pic of the forum post that I found on the screen. This is what I found, and it actually worked. Because of this, the audio was unsynced again, but I quickly fixed that by just turning back my refresh rate back to my original thing. And in the Nvidia control panel, I just said to the game, hey, your max frame rate you can use is 100 FPS. By doing that, the audio sync in cutscenes was perfect. I had a bit of struggle with that in the beginning of the game, but I fixed that by doing my FPS and the not being able to climb on the fucking wall, or like where I had to progress, by turning my monitor's refresh rate back to 60. It was so fucking irritating that I had to do that, but also that I couldn't fix it the first time. Otherwise, I would have never been that irritating, and this video would probably be here sooner than it is now. The other issues that I had were really small. It were some audio glitches. Sometimes the audio of dialogue in cutscenes just didn't come through. It only happened once or twice. It wasn't that big a deal because this game luckily has subtitles in it. I was so happy to see that again after the Sands of Time. But other than that, the music stopping at moments where there should be music, or some audio effects that should have stopped just kept going for a bit, but it all fixed itself there, so I was happy. There were a lot of things I loved about this game. Most of all, I loved the story so much. It's way more complex than what the Sands of Time had, in my opinion at least. I loved the story so much that before actually finishing the game, for this playthrough, I had a talk about this game with my fiance, and just like retold the whole story. There were a few things that I misremembered or just forgot, but most of it was pretty good. About this my memory, because I just played this game so much as a kid. Other than that, I loved the gameplay so much. It's a bit of the same as I said with Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, but they're better. The things I didn't like about that game were like fixed in this game. There's more variation to combat. You have a second weapon you can use, which is freaking amazing. There are hidden weapons. I only found one of those, but they are amazing. I love the health upgrade system so much more than I did in Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, because these were a challenge. You actually had to find them. I actually had to use a guide for those. But to get to where the health upgrades is, you have to like do an obstacle course, where it is easy to die. It's really fun and really frustrating. Sometimes if you die and you don't have any sand tanks to like turn back time a bit, but I love the gameplay. It was a bit harder than the Sands of Time, but I'll go into that in a bit. Other than that, I love the overall tone of the world and the variations in the set pieces. It's way more than what you had with the Sands of Time for me, because you, for one, have every location you go to in both present but also the past, and those variations and like way some things have withered are amazing to see, and I love those. But other than that, you also have like set pieces that are completely different. It's more in depth than what you have in the Sands of Time, and I loved it so much more. But this could also be a bit of nostalgia, just talking and taking over me. There was one more thing that I really loved about this game, and that's the music. I love the soundtrack of this game so freaking fucking much. From the music in just downtime, to when you get chased by the Dahaka, to the combat music, they are all great. The reason I love those are probably because they are more metal than the other games, but that's just me talking. I love these nonetheless, and because of this game, I got into the song, a song of Godsmack, I Stand Alone, because that was the key soundtrack in this game that I loved so freaking much. It's just the instrumentals, none of the lyrics, but still, it's amazing. I loved it so much. I love that song so much, and Godsmack has been one of my favorite bands for a long time. It's been a long time since I've listened to them, but probably because of this game, I'll listen to them again. But yeah, that was music, and I love them so much. I won't really be able to put it in this video. If you want to listen to them, I highly recommend you look up the soundtrack of this game, because it is such good music. I also have to talk about the things that I didn't like as much, or didn't agree with that much. And there's a few things that I can say, but they aren't really things I disliked. There were just things that like kinda got on my nerves a bit, because it's a harder game than the previous game. I love that, but at the same time I got frustrated so badly at some moments, because it's not bad that the game is harder, because I love that, but the checkpoints locations were brutal at sometimes. There were parts where I had to do such a run back to where I was. Luckily, you can skip a lot of the enemies to get to places, but yeah, some of those are brutal, especially if you want to go for like the collectibles or the health upgrades, but I got over those. It's brutal. That's the only negative thing I can really say about this game at this moment. And yeah, that's just saying how much I love this game. To sum it up, this game has been amazing. I love Prince of Persia. I love this game and particularly my love for the rest of the series started all with this game. So I loved it so much and I'm really hyped to go back to the Two Thrones because that was the second one I played as a kid. It's the sequel to this game and I am really interested to see how much of my opinion of that game have changed, if there are any things that I didn't like as a kid that I will like now, but that's for the next video. Also, after I'm done with the next video, I'll also just quickly rank these games, the Sands of Time Trilogy, because for me right now these games are so good. I will recommend them to anyone who will listen, because these games are just amazing and I'm really hyped for the Sands of Time remaster or remake whenever that will come out. So Ubisoft, please get on with it. I want to see more of that game. I want to play it as soon as possible, but it has to be ready. It doesn't deserve to get riddled with bugs, and I'm really hopeful that it will be great. But yeah, this was my video of Prince of Persia Warrior Within. It has been a blast to play this game again. It has been a blast to make this video. I had a bit more of a script than I did last time, so let me know if you like this video. Like I did in the last few videos, I'm gonna try and redirect you back to my Instagram. That's where I post whenever a new video is coming up. That's where I post a story on what I'm going to do for the next video and probably ask most of my questions. So if you want to be up to date with whatever I do for this channel, you can always find me there on Instagram, on brandosi.youtube, as you can see here right now. And I thank you all for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe if you like this video. Share it with your friends if you really liked it, and I hope to see you all next time for the video of Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones. I hope to see you there. Have a nice day and bye. What if I told you I did this before? I had the script, I had the voiceover ready, I had the background footage ready for this video, and I just never got around to it. Sadly, that was the case. I made this back in October or November, and I really wanted to upload it, but it's been so long, and a lot of things I said in that video are just never gonna happen anymore. Sadly enough, the remake of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time got taken away from us before it got released, and that still hurts me. So a lot of the previous voiceover was about how hyped I was for that, but I can't let that get the best of me, and I really still want to make this video about Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones. This is a game I grew up with back on the PlayStation 2. As you know from the video about Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time and Warrior Within, I talked a bit about my experience with the franchise. I grew up with Warrior Within and The Two Thrones on my PlayStation 2, and I loved it ever since. I never actually played The Sands of Time when I was a kid, till I was like 14, 15, and I played it on PC for the first time. I loved it also, but still I saw how it grew into Prince of Persia Warrior Within. Now, that has been so long. It's been so long since I've done that, and I really wanted to talk about my experiences with The Two Thrones, to finish off the trilogy about the Sands of Time. Let's talk about the story. The story starts off right after the events of Prince of Persia Warrior Within, where the hidden ending was off. The prince and Kylina left the island of time and went on their way to Babylon. But when they were almost there, they saw the city was under attack. Sadly enough, they stranded and they were separated. The prince was looking for Kylina and saw some guards taking Kylina away. He decided to follow them and to try to save her. On his way to where Kylina was taken, he hears about the vizier, his archenemy from the Sands of Time, and he's like, how is he here? The vizier should be dead. And when he finally gets to where Kylina was taken, he comes face to face with the vizier. He has taken Kylina and plans to stab her with the dagger of time so he can free the Sands of Time again in this new timeline that got created after the events of Warrior Within. Whilst that is happening, the prince is trying to rescue Kylina and gets stopped by the bodyguards of the vizier, and he gets some kind of chain with spikes on his arm and gets pushed aside. And when the vizier stabs Kylina with the dagger of time, the Sands of Time gets freed and take place in the bodyguards of the vizier, but also in the right arm of the prince, but also in the vizier himself after he stabs himself to imbue himself with the Sands of Time. When he stabs himself, the vizier transforms into something weird, something tainted, and as you can see on screen, it's not human anymore. Because of this, the prince gets a new goal: to stop the vizier once and for all. And he goes after the vizier, and eventually his right arm, where he got like the chains on it, start becoming black and starts glowing. After a while, he even starts hearing a voice in his head. It's a voice that seems to have been with him the entire time, his entire life, but he decides to trust it for now, and he ends up transforming into some kind of sand monster because the Sands of Time that were nested in his arm right now. He freaks out, of course, because he thinks he's never gonna be able to change back to his normal body. But while his goal hasn't changed, he still has to go after the vizier, and he is not afraid anymore. He is just full by anger. And eventually, he gets into water. But because of that water, something happens. He transforms back into his normal body. And on the way, he frees a woman without his own knowledge. This woman is someone we knew from the Sands of Time. The prince knows this woman. He actually spent time with her within the events of the Sands of Time. She is known as Farah to the prince, and he also rescued her back then. The prince and Farah eventually end up working together with the goal to stop the vizier and to save the people of Babylon. But he ends up regaining the love he had for Farah during the game, and the voice in his head is saying, "No, you have to focus. Focus on defeating the vizier. We have to end this by killing the vizier. And when that's done, every other problem will be fixed." This is right around the time where the prince and Farah hear people screaming for help, and she decides to go help them. But the prince, he is like, "I can't. I have to go and stop the vizier." And she's like, "Okay, but I have to go. Do your thing. I don't care. I have to go help them." And the prince stops for a while as Farah runs off to save the people and ends up ignoring the voice in his arm and goes after Farah to help her save the people, but mostly because he is concerned. When the prince finally catches back up to Farah, he gets stopped by one of the bodyguards of the vizier. And the prince says to Farah, "You go, you help those people, I'll deal with her." And so he and the bodyguards end up fighting, but mid-fight he transforms into what we call the Dark Prince, the Sands monster. he becomes, and he ends up killing that bodyguard. But at that time, sadly, Farah comes back and sees him in his sand monster form. She feels betrayed by the prince, because he didn't tell her, and she doesn't trust any of the sand monsters. Because of that, she tries to shoot an arrow at the prince, but misses really badly. The prince is really sad about this, and he tries and wants to get back into Farah's good graces. But eventually, luckily the prince transforms back to his normal body. But because of that interaction with Farah, he decides to take heed and caution when talking with the voice in his arm. As the prince goes back to his goal of killing and stopping the vizier, he eventually hears and sees a building catching fire and lots of workers in there trapped, screaming for their help. The voice of the Dark Prince is saying to ignore it, telling him it's a trap, but the prince doesn't want to. He has seen a lot of people lose their lives, and he's like, no, this is it. I have to help my people. He goes into the building, and while he's in there, it gets set on fire. He tries to rescue the people, and eventually, when they are rescued, it really was a trap. Right when they get out of the building and get on the square of the town, they get ambushed by the army of the vizier. It looks like there's no hope in sight. But after all that, the people that the prince rescued come together. They try to help the prince by stalling the soldiers so the prince can go on, together with Farah, to go and kill the vizier. Eventually, the vizier kidnaps Farah, and the prince falls down into the depths of Babylon, into a kind of well where there's no water inside, where he transforms back into the sand monster, the Dark Prince. With no water in sight, there is no hope that he'll eventually get to go back to his normal body. But once all hope seems lost, the prince finds the sword of his father, the king of Persia, and because of that, the prince finally gains the mental strength to block out the Dark Prince completely, and he transforms back to his own body and really doesn't transform back from here on. But he makes his way up to where Pharaoh was taken by the vizier, and he ends up fighting the vizier and stabs him with the dagger of time. That kills the vizier, but also gets all of the sands of time back where they come from. He sees Kylina that tells the prince to live his life and to say the sands of time never were good for this world. The prince gives her the dagger of time, and because of that, there are no sands of time in this world anymore. All the sands of time and everything around it gets taken away from the world. But however, it's not over yet. It seems like everything's going good and well, but the prince falls down and gets into his own mind space, where the Dark Prince is trying to take control over the prince once and for all. The prince is struggling with this battle. He's losing the fight between him and the Dark Prince. But eventually he hears Farah's voice, and that helps him to win the fight with the Dark Prince by shutting him out forever, so he is no more. In the meantime, we're at the end of the story, where Farah asks the prince how he really knew her name. And so he tells her about all his experiences from the start of the Sands of Time to where we are now. I love the ending of this game, especially after playing the Sands of Time for the first time and seeing that the sentences he ends the game with are the start of the Sands of Time. I really love that little touch, and I really, really love the story of the whole trilogy, and especially the end of this game. Now that we're done with the story I really want to talk about my experiences with the game, from technical performance to also the gameplay. I really loved my time playing this game, I really did, but I must say I had some issues. Nothing major, but there were there. There were times where I had to go up and down on chains, but that just didn't work sometimes for me. I don't know why, but in the breaking, and sometimes it just fixed itself for a while, sometimes it didn't. But other than that, I fell somewhere and got stuck because of that, and I couldn't recall time to get out of it anymore. But those were the only technical issues I really had. Overall, this game was really good in the technical case, and it ran really good. What I really loved about this game was the stealth system. I don't know what it is with stealth systems, but if it's good, it really ups the ante. And how, even though the combat is good, I really like that you can avoid a lot of the combat with stealth sections. And you don't have to do them if you don't want to, and that is something I really loved. I didn't like that as a kid because I found it to be very hard because it's like more of quick time events, but this playthrough I didn't really have problems with that. Other than that, and the combat from that got mainly taken over from the Warrior Within, I really still enjoyed the parkour. They added some things with like some planks that propelled you when you jumped on them, and I really loved that. There was way more focus on parkour than I remembered, especially in the Dark Princess segments where you can use the chains as a whip and like get yourself over huge amounts of space. I really enjoyed it. I really did enjoy the combat as the Dark Prince more than as the normal Prince. Even though the combat was really good already from Warrior Within and got improved a small bit, I really enjoyed the combat as the Dark Prince a bit more. I also loved how you take damage as the Dark Prince and get healed not by water as in the Warrior Within, but when you take up Sands of Time. That heals you completely, and I really found that a neat touch, and I really loved playing as the Dark Prince. That being said, there was one thing I really did not like about this game, and that was the first time you transform into the Dark Prince. It's, as the player, it's like, whoa, what is happening? But the Prince does barely react, in my opinion, sadly enough. But that's the only real thing that I complain about. I think it should have had more of an impact on the Prince at that moment, because it looked like it wasn't the first time. But that's the only thing I really didn't enjoy. There was no cutscene or anything. It just kind of happened. After all that, we get to something I promised I would do in the last video. In the video about Warrior Within, I said I was going to rank the 3 games to tell you which is my favorites in, yeah, the top 3. It's a trilogy. And before we get to the ranking itself, I really must say all these games are amazing. I really love all 3 of them, and I highly recommend you play them for yourself. But we're going to get into the ranking now, and on 3rd place there is Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. It was a great game. It was a solid base for the rest of the games. It was really amazing, but it's the beginning, and the rest just built on that so much, and because of that, it's sad to say, but the rest is just better in my opinion. On 2nd place though is this game, The Two Thrones. I really loved it, and as a kid I was thinking of how they were equal for me, Warrior Within and The Two Thrones, but I must say the story of Warrior Within is a bit more my thing. The soundtrack of Warrior Within is a bit better, and I love the stakes a bit more, but still, both of them are solid. And because of that, as you know, on first, the gold medal for me is Prince of Persia Warrior Within. It's the game I've played the most, and the game I grew up with the longest, because I had Warrior Within way earlier than I had the Two Thrones. I really loved this game. I love all three, and I also love the other Prince of Persia games that came after. After all that, we get to the ending of this video, because I'm not gonna talk about more. I told the things I wanted to tell you. It's been a long time since I've made a video, I know that, and I want to get back into it. And I hope you'll stick with me and follow me on Instagram, because that's where I am going to post every time I'm doing something, whether it is with a post or with a story on there, so you are also always up to date on whenever I'm working on something. I can ask questions there, and that would be amazing if you followed me there. The link is in the bio and in the description. Other than that, I hope you really enjoyed this video. Also, if you did, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more whenever I'm doing more videos like this or something else entirely. Let me know what you want to see in the comments down below, and if you want to see me stream some games, please follow me on Twitch then too. As I said, whenever I'm going to do something that has anything to do with this channel or with streaming, I'll post it on the Instagram, and I hope to see you all next time, whether it be in a video or in a stream, and I hope you all liked it. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you all later. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.